Thank you so much, Heather, and hello, GreenBiz community. Over the last few years, we have, as Heather nodded to, seen an extraordinary uprising of young people all around the world, mobilizing a generational movement, demanding action, not just on the climate crisis, but so many pressing environmental and social challenges. And the thing is that the action isn't just happening on protest front lines. And in fact, I think one of the things that inspires me more than young people who are changing the world is young people who are dedicating their lives to inspiring and engaging even more young people in changing the world. And today I am so honored to be joined by two youth leaders who are doing just this. Danielle Boyer and Diego Arreola Fernández have each carved out their own unique niche, and yet they share a common mission: to raise up the next generation of environmental stewards and innovators through accessible and inclusive programs so that no one is left behind. Danielle and Diego are both 2020 recipients of the prestigious Brower Youth Award, given each year to 6 young people in North America for outstanding leadership in the environmental movement. We are so thrilled to have them with us at GreenBiz 21 as our closing keynote. Welcome to you both. Now, before we dive in, I want to encourage all of you to share your questions in the chat. We will make sure to save some time at the end of the conversation to weave those in. So with that, I'd love to start with the journey that brought each of you here. Danielle, your work began at the age of 10 when you saw that STEAM education, that's science, technology, engineering, art, and math, wasn't as accessible in low-income communities, including your own Ojibwe tribe in Troy, Michigan. What was it like to realize at such a young age that this disparity in access was putting young people and our collective future at such a disadvantage?
Thank you so much. First of all, I am so happy to be here. This is so exciting to be able to share this space with Diego especially, and to share my perspectives in STEAM. I'm actually an urban native, and my reservation is in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. I live far below near Detroit, Michigan, and I spent a lot of my childhood being pretty isolated because I was actually homeschooled for most of my life. At our homeschool group, there weren't a lot of classes in science and technology, and I saw that my little sister was really interested in it. And I was like, there has to be something out there, right? And I was at Costco one day and I saw these animal puppets. And I was like, Mom, what if I taught an animal science class? She's like, girl, you're 10 years old. What do you mean? And she ended up letting me teach a class. I put together the curriculum. I was writing a bunch of lesson plans. I was so excited. And that was the start of my long journey in STEAM education. But when I was teaching that class and when I was getting started, especially in kindergarten teaching, I noticed that a lot of the resources that a lot of educators used to teach were just so expensive. And I know I wasn't able to afford them, and neither were the students or the communities that I was working with. I mean, a robot was around $500. That's crazy, just for an educational bot. I knew that I had to make change, but I really wasn't sure how. I felt like I wasn't able to have the power or the capability to make change, especially in technology. A lot of people tell young girls especially that we're not supposed to be in STEAM and that we're not supposed to be inventors and change makers. And that can really be discouraging and it can really weigh on you. But I'm glad that I didn't let those negative words take me down, because I'm able to share my experiences with my students and be able to influence them to love their STEAM superpowers and use their skills in everything from science to tech to art to be able to change the world for the better. And for me, I use robotics to do that because I think robots are really, really cool.
Well, I'm excited, Danielle, in just a little bit to get a little deeper into the work of your organization that you founded and run, STEAM Connection. Diego, I want to pass it to you right now. You found your personal passion for public speaking at the age of 7, living in your home city of Mexico City. And now you're on a mission to help other young people and people of all ages find their voices and help create the positive change that they want to see in the world. Where did you source your courage to speak up so boldly? And how do you inspire that kind of courage in others?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shauna. And I am very happy to be here along with you and my dear friend and fellow awardee, Danielle Boyer. I must say, first of all, that when I was 6 years old, and that was 1 year before I found my passion for public speaking, as you said, I was definitely not a public speaker. I was shy, I was bullied, I was the smallest kid in my classroom. I was an introvert. And I couldn't speak in front of any audience, like not even my family, not even my friends, if I had some friends. And then this competition happened in my school, this mandatory declamation competition. And I was supposed to prepare a poetry, and I did it horribly, horribly. It was devastating for me. I got out of there crying. And I remember I said to myself that I would never try it again. I would never try to get out of my comfort zone. I will just be a shy, outcast kid the rest of my life and remain silent. And that afternoon, I remember that my mom came to my room and she told me that she wouldn't allow me to, that it was vital for me to learn how to express my ideas. It was a vital key in life in order to succeed. And so we trained for over a year and we practiced my self-esteem, my self-confidence, my technique. And the next year, the next mandatory declamation competition, I won. And I have been honored to have been winning national and international competitions in oratory, declamation, debates, public speaking related. And now we are honored to help kids in Mexico and the world. We have workshops in India with friends in Dubai, in Spain, in Canada, in the US, to help kids find their voice and use it for environmental awareness, fighting for environmental rights and human rights. And we just tell them that they need to believe in themselves. And if they can believe in themselves, then they have to find someone that does, just like my mom believed in me. And if they don't have no one, we want to be that someone, the one that believes in themselves and help them shine. And that's what green speaking is about.
Well, that's such a perfect transition, Diego, because each of you is doing very different work, and yet you share a really powerful underlying value, right? It's this idea that every young person, no matter where they come from, what their life experience, has a tremendous potential to be an environmental innovator or steward. And Danielle, I'd love for you to speak a little bit about what have you learned so far about the kind of transformation that's possible, particularly when young girls and girls of color are given access to technology, engineering, and environmental education opportunities?
Oh, I love this question so much because I get to brag a bit about my students and the amazing work that they're doing. But I've seen my students transform into Earth innovators in their own very unique ways. And an example of that is one of my students, Vinya Gunashaker, and she's only 13 years old. We met when I mentored her first robotics team, an all girls for inspiration and recognition of science and technology robotics team. And I remember I was actually teaching her how to, and her entire team, how to public speak. And even myself not completely knowing how to do it too well. And what was really cool is we actually gave our first panel together 2 days ago, which was such a great experience. But her being only 13 years old, she saw how much she was being affected by climate change and how much she'd be continued to be affected by it. And she wanted to do something. And she was like, hey, Danielle, what can I do? And so we started doing one-on-one mentorships, and we ended up starting a podcast together on environmental innovation called Hands-On Techie Talks. And that has been such a great journey. I mean, my co-host is 13 and I'm 20. That is just so cool. And we're also making a robot together to clean up recyclables off of school floors and publishing a book together. It is just so cool to see the progress that she's made by using her unique talents in everything from like art to robot design to be able to help those around her. And I'm just so proud to be there in that process and to work with her. But I think when you give children the right tools, they can do so many beautiful things. And I actually think Diego is like a remarkable example of this, especially in STEAM, because he's using his artistic talents in public speaking and his scientific interests in our oceans and plastic pollution to fight for the change that he wants to see. And he's doing it remarkably. I now see my students doing everything in highway cleanup of different plastics and recycling. And I see my students starting their own STEAM clubs. It is so crazy because I never thought I'd be able to see this change so early on, especially I'm so young and I haven't even been teaching that long. I did just think it's so cool.
Well, Danielle, I want to stay on the beauty piece for a minute because you also put the A in STEAM, not just as a technologist and an engineer, but also as an artist. Can you very briefly show us some of your art and talk briefly about why you believe it's so important for Indigenous, Black, and other youth of color to have and see role models who look like them?
So I have some really cool illustrations that I've done. I call them little doodles. I think it's so important for students to see illustrations and drawings of themselves being smart in STEAM. A lot of kids don't get to see that. I'm very fortunate. I got to grow up seeing role models who have the same skin tone that I do, but many kids don't have that opportunity. So I decided to start a STEAM Strong series with illustrations inspired by my students to show that they belong in STEAM. And it's just so impactful because my students get to walk into my classroom knowing that they belong, that they can be an astronaut and that they can be an earth protector. And I just think it's so much fun because my students have told me that this is sometimes the first time they've ever seen a drawing of someone who looks like them. And I think that is a huge point of reflection, especially in like children's books. And we can do better and we can fight for that change to diversify the spaces around us. And even as simple as putting up my art inside my classroom, I just think is so, so beautiful.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Danielle. So Diego, I wanna shift back to you. I mean, you have grown up in a country that has really serious social challenges, you know, from gang-related violence to deep poverty and pervasive inequality. What have you learned about how to engender a sense of environmental stewardship within that context? You know, helping young people believe not only in their ability to be future change makers, but to participate actively in making that change now.
Definitely. It was tough at first to just focus on environmental awareness, having a lot of problems here and a strong gender inequality, deep poverty, and inequality in so many areas. But I think we soon realized that sustainability is about like those three pillars, society, environment, and economics. So when we teach these kids how to fight for sustainability and how to become earth protectors, they are fighting for equal opportunities for all, protecting the environment and protecting society. And working with these kids, with our communities, we have realized that there are always two kinds of kids. As Danielle was saying, there are these kids that are so talented and like have this passion for STEAM or for music, for public speaking. And so we want to help those kids that might lack a bit of the knowledge about climate justice and the climate change and what is happening and how to solve it, and use their talents in favor of these solutions. And on the other hand, we have the kids that have this deep sense of care towards Mother Nature and that have this consciousness and responsibility and amazing ideas, but they don't know how to communicate them, how to inspire more people, how to motivate people because they are shy, just like I was when I was 6 years old. And so we also want to work with those kids so that they can enhance their projects and become the next change makers and join the protests that are already happening. Because the kids that are protesting, and I include myself, it requires a lot. You have to have the knowledge of what's happening and the confidence to go and fight for your future and for what you believe in. But we want every kid on the planet and every young voice to be heard and to be fighting on those protests or initiating their own campaigns or their own amazing work or joining amazing communities and organizations just like the STEAM Connection with Danielle, become green speakers. But they have to have both. They have to be informed and they have to be confident.
Beautiful. Thank you. So I want to bring it to where we are now in the green biz context. And Heather, we're going to come to you for some questions in just a minute. But bringing it home to green biz, you are speaking right now to an audience of thousands of leaders, mostly adults, working inside of companies and organizations that are deeply committed to environmental and social responsibility. What are some of the things that you want in partnership with the private sector, either as corporate partners or from individuals as intergenerational allies? Diego.
Definitely. From my experience working with local businesses and restaurants here in Mexico, what I've loved the most is that most of them really pay attention to my concerns and to my voice and really hear what I have to say and the facts and with science. And therefore that they take immediate and substantial action. And I think that's something remarkable and something that we need, because we need to unite and we need to work together, businesses, nonprofits, individuals, kids. It doesn't matter the age difference or the experience, because we all want a same bright future and a better society, not a better planet, because we already have the most wonderful home that we could ask for, but a better society and more responsible. And so specifically to green speaking, what I would ask is that we need more strategic, committed and responsible partners across North America, across the world, across Europe, because we want to bring this environmental education to as much communities as we can and to have as many informed and conscious leaders as we can. So go to greenspeaking.org.com and follow us, hit us with an email at greenspeaking.org@gmail.com.
Thanks, Diego. And I'll do a quick plug right now. We're going to be doing a breakout later this afternoon where we're going to be going much deeper into these topics, into this topic of, opportunities for partnership and collaboration with the private sector. Danielle, what comes up for you?
To me, it's more than just funding. I want partners who emphasize diversity especially and listen to young voices and create systems to back that up too. I once did diversity training for a company called Dassault Systems and their Champions program. I talked to so many engineers around the world, and I honestly didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if my stories on diversity would be received. I didn't know if it would be well accepted, especially by the engineering community, but it was. And it just shows that collaborating with these organizations to show what our passions are and to work together on everything from diversity to youth voices is so, so important. And to have those companies listen to us and support us is so, so meaningful. And I also think it shows that you don't need to create new initiatives always to make change. I mean, at my organization, we need mentors. We need people who are going to support us every single step of the way. So whether you're like a financial manager or a marketer, you have so much potential to change the lives of young activists using the skills and the resources that you have right now.
Thank you, Danielle. We're quickly running out of our time, but Heather, I'm going to pass it over to you to bring in at least one question from the audience.
Super, thank you. Danielle, you have a few more podcast subscribers as of now, and people want to know about your prints. But the question I'm going to raise is, how do the two of you balance putting time into this meaningful work and taking time for yourself?
I think that a lot of us young people tend to take things like personal time and mental health, and we tend to put it on a back burner, but I don't think we need to do that. For me, taking the time to even talk with Diego and share our ideas has been awesome, because it's so great to meet like-minded people and to have a sense of community and to balance those two things. And it really takes the pressure away from just working all the time, but even socializing via Zoom when we can't see people in person.
Definitely. I agree. And when you do what you love, and I love what I do, because I love public speaking and connecting with people and inspiring people with my own example and my own story of how a young kid that was shy could inspire more people. It is wonderful, and it is easy to balance it with other things, and like working in other projects, serving also as a squad leader, and help other kids tackle plastic pollution in their own communities, as for the Ocean Heroes network, another amazing network that taught me how to balance it all and how to work my strengths. So I think it's all about just doing what you love and going with the flow.
Well, I want to build on Heather's question and end on a personal note. We have just 1 minute left, but there is no question in my mind that in the last 20 minutes, you have deeply inspired the Green Biz community. Where do you source your inspiration? Danielle?
I pull my inspiration and passion from so many different places, like my communities, my culture, my students, and my peers who are changing the world every single day. I'm just really proud to have the resources to be able to pursue my STEAM passions and to allow other students to be able to do that too.
Me too. From my students, my community, from youth, like-minded people just like Danielle, my fellow awardees, and from the Ocean Heroes Network. As I was saying, that's where I found my vocation, and that I wanted to use this passion for changing the world and inspiring more people to do it. So thank you very much. It was an honor to be here.
Well, I'm pretty confident we can say that your community has just grown by several thousand people. The number of folks you have inspired through your work has grown by several thousand people. You both make me feel so much more hopeful about the future. I'm so grateful for your leadership, your commitment. You've got this, we've got you, we're in this together. Danielle and Diego, thank you so, so much. Back to you, Heather.